Welcome, welcome. Welcome back to From Middle Class to Millionaire. Today we're going to be talking about what I did that made me a millionaire and why you are still stuck. And it is not because you're behind. It's not because you're too old. It's not because of all the reasons that you've told yourself, but instead I'm going to break down what I actually did that made me a millionaire. And I'm going to explain to you at the end of this why it is imperative that you should attend the webinar on December 11th at 7 p.m. Eastern. The reason why I want you to be there is because I want you to learn the strategies. I am not going to break down all the strategies today. I'm doing this podcast episode because I really want you to understand that this is possible for you. But it is only possible for you if you take action. And so we're going to talk about taking action. We're going to talk about what I did, which required me to take action. And we're going to talk about what you can do in order to take the steps. I don't want you sitting there for another year. You heard me. Another year. Because every single time I see people out of the market for another year, it makes my skin crawl because I know that you're missing out on so much potential money. And this is why we're here. We want to have money. And if I'm not talking about money where you go out and you work your tail off, I'm talking about the money that you've already worked for and you can make it make money for you. I did not make $1 million. That is not how I became a multimillionaire. It is through the investing that I did and the action that I took. That is how that happened. So I want you to buckle up. We're going to talk about that in this episode, and then you're going to register for the webinar in the link below in the show notes because it is important for you to be there. It's free. It's free. You have time. You have time right now. This may be the last time that you have time because after you get off that webinar and we start working together, you're going to see that your time is going to be used utilizing your brain to become increasingly more financially literate so that you can turn the money that you are making every day that you go into work into more money for you. You're going to turn that money into a hard worker just like you. So please stay tuned. And register, press pause, go down and register, come back and listen to the rest of this episode. All right, I took some notes here because I really wanted to make sure that I captured a lot of what I've heard, what my experiences have been, what people like to ask me once they are working with me and we're one-on-one. And so I really want to share a lot of this stuff with you, and I want you to really take notes if you think it's important, but I want you to know that there's just a common theme here that makes the difference. And it's the real reason that I became a millionaire, even though I was not making an extremely high salary. And because it wasn't timing, it wasn't luck, it wasn't because I was born rich, I surely didn't marry wealthy. It is simply because I acted. Okay? I want you to know that. It is because I acted. I was scared, very fearful at times, but I acted nonetheless. And so, quick backstory, because I know a lot of you already know my backstory, but I want to just give you a couple of tidbits so you have an understanding of where I'm coming from. I am the child of immigrants, born in Canada. Okay? I now am an immigrant myself. I have moved to the United States. I moved here in grad school and I started working shortly thereafter. I walked into this new country to me, the United States of America, with zero wealth language, zero information about how these systems work, zero information about the stock market, because I didn't even know about the stock market back home in Canada. Nobody around me invested in the market. So coming to the US, I was totally in the dark. Okay. No one taught me about assets or investing or taxes or wealth building. Let me tell you, I did not have, any information about this. I was walking in cold, but I knew that there was a way that people built wealth, especially here in the United States of America. And I, my friend, wanted to acquire some of that wealth. I had to learn. So I'm going to tell you right now, there's nothing special about me There's nothing unique about what I did. I stopped thinking about it. I stopped watching people do it, and I started moving. And that is exactly what separates my clients from the folks who stay stuck year after year after year after year. My clients, just like me, get moving. Now, listen, there are a couple of types of people I see every day. Every single day, I talk to a lot of folks. A lot of people book a call or see me on TikTok or on Instagram or listen to this here podcast, and they're like doing nothing because they're the non-action takers, right? They're the folks that are always listening to all the podcasts, all the money podcasts, saving all the reels, buying all the books. They know everything about all these types of investments, but they're not doing a damn thing. And when you kind of peel back the layers and ask a few questions, they're the folks where like everything is like harem scarum. There are accounts everywhere. There's all these debts. They're trying to pay off a debt here, there, everywhere. They've got these wackadoo expenses. You know, they've been saying they're going to, take control of this soon. And they've been saying that for like 5 or 10 years, if not more. And don't get me wrong, these people are making good money. I'm not talking about people who are financially struggling. No, these guys are struggling because it's of their own doing. They're struggling and making 6 figures plus. They're struggling with the same debt they've had forever. They're struggling with this increase in their paycheck and their income year after year. But they're still, up at night, stressed the heck out, Googling at 2 a.m, talking about, how do you get rid of debt? Or how do you make your money grow? Or all the things that they're Googling with living in this low grade financial anxiety. And they're the ones who will tell you they can figure this out on their own, even though they've been sitting in the same position for years. More podcasts. More books, more reels being saved, no action. I talk to them all the time. And it's heartbreaking. I'm not going to lie, because I see them come in and I've had people come back. That is really stressful for me. I love it for them because I do want people to succeed. But when they come back 4 years later, I'm like, oh my gosh, what have you been doing? And usually what they've been doing is racking up more debt, not investing, missing out on huge opportunities for growth, and then they feel worse. They generally feel worse because that anxiety is still there, humming in the background. These folks have to move when they're ready to move. They're not the ones, like the second set of folks that I talk to, who move even though they're not ready to move. You know those people? I'm those people. These are the people with the same responsibilities, same lack of time, same fears, but they'll book a call. Like they're like, I can't take it anymore. You know what I mean? They're like, I got to do something. I have to do something. I can't keep doing what I've been doing because I'm getting the same results. And we all know what the definition of that is. So these are the folks that are like, I'm done with it. I'm not going to try to guess anymore. I know that I'm making good money and that my money, I should be doing more with my money. I hear that all the time. I know I should be doing more with my money. And they decide that they've got to get started because they're also looking around and they see other people in their lives who seem to have their things together. And they're like, well, wait a minute. I've got a good job like that person, or that person doesn't even make as much as I make. Why are they all set up? And so they know that it's time. It's time to commit. It's time to do the work. And it's time to really start looking at their money. They're tired of it. You can't continue to make good money and not understand where it's going. It'll gnaw at you. Absolutely. They want to stop those money leaks. They're like, I got to get rid of this debt. It's annoying. They want to build up their savings because they know that if something were to happen, they'd be in trouble. And let's be honest, if you're not investing and you're not doing it strategically and consistently. You're not setting up your retirement properly. Everything is confusing to you, even though you're so educated and you're making good money and you really excel at what you do. You feel dumb. I know I did. I felt dumb. I was like, why don't I understand this? Why can't I figure this out? Why does it seem so complicated? And you feel like immobilized, but you also know that this is the only way to build wealth. And so you've got to get that roadmap. You got to get some way of figuring out what that plan is going to be so that you can benefit from it. And I'll tell you, these people don't do anything magical except for taking action. They just stop delaying it. They just get going. And so for me, I think the most important thing for me that made me become a millionaire was I was sick of myself, and I was sick of the cycle that I was in. So I had to get organized. My shit was everywhere. It was stupid. It was everywhere. So I had to start tracking it. Now, people don't like to talk about a budget, but I needed to understand my cash flow. I needed to look at what was going on. I needed to know the numbers. What was coming in? What was going out? Where was it going? Why was it going where it was going? I had to clean all of that up. I had to do it. It was hard. It was stressful for me to do it because I was doing it by myself and I didn't know an efficient way or a quick way to do it. It just needed to be done because I had to face these numbers. I had to see what was going on, and that included the debt. So I believe that my millionaire story started with that organization. Absolutely. I had to see everything in front of me first. As grim as that picture was, I needed to see it. I needed to see it laid out in front of me. Then I needed to stop fooling around because I was making some very foolish mistakes that were quite simple to clean up, but because I wasn't looking at anything, I just kept making the mistakes. So for example, I was in debt and the cycle of debt. And the reason I had this cycle of debt was, first of all, I didn't have any substantial emergency fund. So if anything happened, well, what do? You don't have any cash on hand or not enough cash on hand. So what do? You grab your credit card. Oh, guess what? More debt. Oh, guess what? Adding to the debt. So I was always in this cycle of debt. Yeah, like I was paying some of it down, but I wasn't really, because I was paying a little bit more on this one and a little bit more on this one, a little bit more on this one. Spreading myself so thin, it was so dumb. Because there was no strategy. Nothing was really moving. And then as soon as something happened, boom, back to the credit card, more debt. Then I had all of these, I was overspending, but in really bizarre ways. Like, I don't have a problem with spending money. I like spending money. I like for my clients to spend money. I just want them to spend the money, though, on things that they really care about. And, when you look at your money and you get it organized and you're like, what the heck is this? I had some memberships that I wasn't using. So dumb. Some subscriptions I wasn't using. That took some cleaning up and getting rid of. There was some impulsive shopping, right? That, I had to look inside and say, why are you purchasing these things? And then where are they? I don't know. It's somewhere buried in the house somewhere. Unnecessary purchases. So there were a lot of places where the money was going out and it didn't make sense to me. And again, wouldn't have known it if I didn't look at it, right? I was paying a lot for some convenience stuff. And I like conveniences, but I couldn't afford them at the time. And let me tell you what I mean when I say I couldn't afford them. I could afford to pay for them because I was making enough money that I could pay for conveniences, but I couldn't afford them because I wasn't making my money make money for me. So I wasn't investing properly, aggressively, with intention, with strategy, with direction. I was doing pure nonsense. And so I could afford to buy the convenience. It wasn't like, oh, I couldn't have it, but that's not what I needed at the time. I couldn't afford to jeopardize my future with these, present day conveniences. So I had to change that. I had to start looking at what I was buying differently. And yeah, maybe I wasn't going to buy that convenience because I could buy some investments. I could buy my future self some freedom. You know what I mean? So it was really the shift in how I looked at things. And then I had to become financially literate because I didn't understand squat about in the investments. I didn't know what I was invested in, like my 401k. Yeah, you're responsible, put money in your 401k, but I didn't know what I was putting my money in. Like I didn't really understand. So I had to learn what types of investment allocations there were, how I could allocate my money, how it was performing, all of that stuff I needed to learn. And it was important that I learned that stuff because every step of the way, that was helping me build my confidence with my finances. I mean, I even had to get really clear on the difference between what's a Roth 401k and a traditional 401k. And I'm glad that I took the time out to learn those things. I mean, I'm really glad because when I look at the amount of money I contributed to my Roth 401k, that's going to be tax-free money for me. Tax-free. Lots of folks don't know that, don't realize that, and don't put their money into their Roth 401k. So I mean, just learning these simple strategies, it's going to save me tons of money in the future. And also save me money during the time when I was earning money in my corporate job. The other thing that I did was I bought assets consistently. If I brought in a paycheck, which I always did, I invested. There was not a time when I wasn't investing. Because I knew that my job was my primary investor and they were going to make me rich, not via my salary alone, but what I did with my salary. And I didn't try to get rich quick. I knew it wasn't going to be something that was going to happen overnight. It took me quite a long time, to be quite honest, because I was learning this all on my own. But I made sure that the assets that I was accumulating over time fit my lifestyle. I made very, very clear choices. And sometimes they were a little off. Sometimes I wasn't 100% sure about what I was doing, but that was okay. I made mistakes. I get it. I didn't know. And I didn't have anyone around me who knew. And I didn't have anybody to ask. And I couldn't get personalized information that was directed at my individual circumstance. So I had to wing it. But I had to wing it in a way that allowed me to use some math. Because, and you don't have to be a math wizard, but I did use math to answer a couple questions because these were important to me. Okay. First and foremost, I knew I wanted to become work optional. Do you know what that means? That means I would get to a point where I worked because I wanted to, not because I had to. And I knew that I wanted to get to that work optional stage long before 65. So I wasn't looking at traditional retirement age. I was looking at how can I get to the stage where work is an option for me. So that was the first question I asked. And I had to do the math to figure that out. Then I had to do the math to figure out how much will I have when I get to that work optional stage? How much will be there for me? And I needed to know when will I have that money because that would determine when work became optional, right? And I wanted to know how long the money would last because that's important as well. Not only was I saying, okay, I needed to hit this target amount, but after I started using that target amount, how long is it going to last? I don't want to be one of those folks that retires at 65, let's say, and then the money's gone by 70. That's not good planning. So I needed to answer those questions, and those questions could be answered using math, not vibes, math. Because you see, you don't build this kind of wealth by accident. You don't. You don't stumble into it. I mean, if you're lucky and, but that wasn't going to be on my plate. So you don't stumble into this. You have to be intentional. And you have to build it by following a simple, proven system and do it over and over and over again. I kept my wealth building as simple as I possibly could. And the thing is that I find so fascinating now at this stage, because when I was doing this, I didn't realize that there was actually a timeline within which you could do this. And I see it with my clients, and now I know that. And now I'm like, well, shoot, I wish that I knew this and I could have done this faster. Because most of my clients and most people, if they are focused, will reach financial independence within 10 to 15 years. And by financial independence, I mean when you're work optional, when your investments will pay you enough for you to live, right? And so I didn't know that there was actually a timeline when this could occur. I was just working towards it myself personally, hoping that I would reach it. But I didn't know when that would actually happen. So when I'm sitting in front of a client or a potential client, and we're talking about how long this process takes, I love to throw out that 10 to 15 years. I love to throw it out because it really depends not on how old they are, but their stage. You know what I mean? It depends on where they are with their money. And so when I'm working with someone and we're talking about 6 months together, that's because I'm shortcutting this stuff for you. I didn't do anything in 6 months. It took me almost a year to get myself organized alone, right? To look at the money, to figure out where it was going, figure out the debt, try to build, myself up to be able to face what I had done, what I had created. It took a long time. But I know that when I'm sitting there with someone and talking about that, they know that 6 months is nothing compared to the decades of time and stress and frustration and anxiety that they've been living with. 6 months. 6 months can make a world of difference. It doesn't take forever to achieve this financial success. But it does take a long time for people to get on the phone. There are decades behind that. And the reason why people, unfortunately, remain stuck is the exact reasons why, the opposite reasons to how I became a millionaire. They're not organized. There's all that emotional spending going on. There's no plan. There's no system. There's no awareness. All of those things are happening. They're repeating their old habits. Money's going everywhere. They have no clue. And every decision is just, made from guilt or fear or anxiety. And it's intimidating to retire, to invest for retirement. Investing, period, feels intimidating. So what happens? They don't do anything. And they don't understand, and they don't become financially literate, and then they remain stuck. That's not what I want for you. It's not what's going to move the needle. What's going to move the needle is actual action. I know that people are fearful of taking the next step. But what's the alternative? Honestly, what is the alternative? You cannot believe that you're going to be dependent on your children. That's becoming less and less like a probability for most people, because most of these children are going to have a tough time if they don't figure out how to manage money. And the best thing that you can do is get yourself aligned so that they can learn from you in this ever-changing economy. And I think that also plays a huge role in the way that I look at money, because I really helped my parents, and they were retired at the time. So I really set them up and helped them understand how to make their money work for them. And the way that I approach it with my children is very different as well, because I see the environment and the economy that they're going to be walking into, and that's different than what I walked into. But some of the fundamental things are the same. Some of them are just the same. So you could be a boomer, a Gen Xer, a millennial, a Gen Zer. Fundamentally, some of the things are the same. And that's why I decided to have this webinar on December 11th, because I really wanted to show that what I talk to my millennial clients about, my boomer clients about, my Gen Z clients about, my Gen X clients about, fundamentally, it's the same. And so it's important that you know that these strategies exist and that following them, given the changing economic climate, is still going to set you up for success. You're going to learn about the organization of your money and why it's important and why we're going to do it in 30 days. We're going to do it quickly, because you need to know what's going on. You got to face it. You can't run. Because the money's not going to, the thing is with money, if you ignore it, it doesn't get better. So we don't want to hide from it. So we do want to focus on it. We do want to get organized. We want to look at it. And then we want to turn these 6-figure incomes that you have into 7-figure net worth. There is no reason why you're bringing in this 6-figure income and your investments aren't growing. The only way to secure your financial independence, to become financially free, to build wealth, is to invest. So you've got to take that money and stop sitting on these savings that you have, if you're fortunate enough to have savings, and realize that the money isn't growing, which is the third thing we talk about, how to make the money grow. This is a whole wealth building strategy. I had to do these 3 things in order to become a millionaire. I focused on these strategies. This is what got me to this place. This is what enabled me to be work optional. And I have work optional clients, and I have other clients who are on their way to that status. Yeah, it's great when you start off in your 20s or 30s, but that's not the case for most of us. And so instead of perseverating over being behind or feeling behind or wondering why everybody else seems to get ahead and wondering where your money's going and, not being clear on what to invest in or how to invest or how to start, come to the webinar. Come to the webinar. It's December 11th at 7 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to teach the strategies to you. I'm going to share them with you. There's no gatekeeping here. I wish I had this years ago. First of all, I would have achieved work optional status way faster instead of all the fumbling around that I did. But it also would have been less painful. Let's not lie. I didn't have to feel insecure, intimidated, unsure, scared all the time. I could have actually had some guidance. Love guidance. Now when I need something, I find the person who can help me get it. So coming to this free webinar is the beginning of you taking action. Remember at the beginning, I told you there are a couple of folks that I talked to, the action takers and the ones that just sit there spinning for years. I actually talked to someone the other day who told me that they've been reading my emails. If you're not on my email list, jump on. They've been reading my emails for almost 5 years. It's the first time they actually got on call. And the reason they said they got on the call was they were waiting to find themselves in a better financial position. They were waiting to be in a better financial position to work with the financial coach who would get them in a better financial position. You're cleaning up for the cleaning lady. That's what it is. You're losing weight before you go to the gym. That's what it is. Don't do that to yourself. The folks who are successful are the folks who take action even when they don't truly believe they're ready. And let's get real. 6 months from now, we'll be in the middle of 2026. And you could be standing exactly where you are today. Confused and busy and overwhelmed and hoping that something magically changes and, the debt will go away and you'll have a better sense of where your money's going. And you really, really, really will start putting more into your 401k and blaming your situation on your age and that this wasn't taught in school and all of the things that you can tell yourself, all of the things that put up that resistance to getting started. Or in 6 months, you can be in the middle of the greatest financial transformation of your life. All your accounts can be organized, fully funded savings, your debt's disappearing, your investments are growing steadily. You know the difference between why you're investing in your HSA and your 401k and your IRA. You understand what all of those accounts are for, why you're putting in the amounts you're putting them in, and in what order. You know what the heck people are talking about when they're talking about the S&P 500 and ETFs and index funds, and you understand? Yeah, that's where you could be in 6 months. And I want that for you. And you can have that. Come to the webinar. It's Thursday, December 11th. I'm going to be talking about these strategies. I did not become a multimillionaire by accident. You're not going to become a millionaire by accident. I want you to set yourself up for life. This is what changed my life. This is what changed my clients' lives. This is what changes for people just like you who are willing to take action. This can be the year that you stop fooling around, trying to figure it out. Stop reading all the books, stop listening to all the podcasts, stop watching all the YouTube videos, and actually get a personalized plan for yourself. Come to my free webinar and start building some real wealth. December 11th, 7 p.m. Can't wait to see you there.